I'm Daniel, and I'm bisexual, and I produce those intimate stories for restless hearts, those ones that make you question everything and think, those ones that make you sometimes wanna drink.
Welcome to another episode of the Amir McCoy Project audio drama podcast. I'm your host, Danielle. Thank you very much for joining me on this rainy Wednesday night. Rainstorms, my favorite environment to write romance in. And this episode fits the mood perfectly. Wine is my beverage of choice this evening, so if you're enjoying a libation yourself, cheers to you. I wish you abundant health and happiness. If you like what you hear, please feel free to share and subscribe. Seriously, it keeps the candle burning brighter. Here we are, confined on a midnight train leaving Paris. How romantic. Or not. Now they can't avoid the truth. And neither can Julien's wife, who finds a private letter at home.
Julien hated business trips. He hated them even more when they involved last-minute planning, crowded stations, and the sense of being swept somewhere he didn't want to go. But Claire had encouraged him gently that morning.
It'll do you good. It might clear your head and give you some fresh air.
He had nodded. He hadn't told her the reason he felt so scattered had nothing to do with work, and everything to do with Antoine. The train platform buzzed with commuters, students, tired parents, and strangers with suitcases. Julien stood near the departure sign for the Lyon train, checking his watch every 30 seconds. Antoine was late. Of course he was late.
Come on, Antoine. My God, this man is always late for everything. He will always wait until his arm has been cut off by the train door.
Julien told himself he didn't care. He told the knot in his stomach it was only work. He told the memory of Antoine standing beneath his window at midnight, a moment Julien didn't even know had happened, that it meant nothing. But when he saw Antoine weaving through the crowd, coat unbuttoned, curls tousled by the wind, something in Julien lifted, then sank again. Equal parts relief and longing, Antoine reached him slightly out of breath.
Sorry, beaucoup de trafic. And life. Mostly life.
Julien's lips twitched. That vague, Antoine shrugged helplessly.
It's been a week.
Julien could have said me too. He didn't. Instead, they boarded the train. Seats made for suffering. The train car was nearly full, leaving only one pair of seats together toward the back. Two narrow seats, close enough that shoulders would brush if either of them breathed too deeply. Julien sat by the window, setting his briefcase on his lap like a shield. Antoine claimed the aisle seat, long legs folding awkwardly into the limited space. 5 minutes passed in silence, then 10. Julien watched Paris blur by, the city peeling back into countryside. Then into wide stretches of winter fields. Antoine tapped his thumb lightly against his knee. An old nervous habit Julien had memorized long before he should have. Finally Antoine spoke.
Julien, you've been avoiding me.
Julien stiffened.
That's not true.
Oh, but I think it is.
It's complicated.
Antoine turned in his seat, studying him.
Everything is complicated, Julien. That's not an answer.
Julien kept his gaze on glass.
I thought giving us some space would help.
And did it? Help?
Julien's throat tightened. The truth pressed against his teeth.
No,
he said quietly. Antoine leaned back, exhaling.
Then why did you try?
because I am weak.
Julien whispered. Antoine's expression softened.
No, I don't think that's it at all. I think you are scared.
Julien didn't deny it. The tilt of the world. An announcement crackled overhead. A jolt ran through the train as it sped faster, carrying them into the blue glow of early evening. Julien felt Antoine's gaze again. Steady, searching, unbearably gentle.
What are we doing?
Julien asked at last, voice raw. Antoine gave a soft laugh.
Avoiding the only real answer.
Julien turned sharply.
Which is? What do you want me to do?
Antoine didn't look away.
The real answer is that we are in love with each other.
Julien's breath stopped. The train hummed around them. Passengers laughed, read newspapers, sipped canned drinks, oblivious to the universe cracking open between two men in row 32. Julien felt something inside him collapse and expand at the same time.
Antoine, you can't say things like that.
But it's true.
Even so.
Julien, I think I've known it for a long time. Long before that night in your apartment.
Julien swallowed hard. He couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. He whispered,
But you can't love me.
Oh, but I can. And I do.
Julien pressed a hand to his forehead.
Then what are we supposed to do?
Antoine didn't speak for a moment. Then,
We start by telling the truth.
Julien let out a sound. Not quite a laugh. Not quite a sob.
The truth would tear everything down.
Maybe it should.
Antoine said. Julien stared at him. Antoine stared back. Something thick and electric settled between them, warm and terrifying. A dangerous proximity? The train lurched suddenly, sending Julien forward. Antoine reached instinctively, steadying him with a hand at his arm. Their bodies collided lightly, not enough to draw attention, but enough that Julien felt the heat of Antoine's palm through the fabric of his jacket. A small, sharp breath escaped him. Antoine didn't pull away, not immediately. Julien's heartbeat stuttered.
Antoine, you can't touch me like that.
I know.
Antoine whispered. But his hand lingered 1 second more. 2, 3, until Julien gently pulled free. The absence of that touch felt colder than the winter air rushing past the window. They didn't speak much during the rest of the ride, each man lost in his own storm. When the train finally pulled into Lyon, night had settled fully over the city. Most of the walk to the small hotel was silent. Only once did Antoine ask,
Are you okay?
Julien lied.
Yes.
They checked into 2 separate rooms on the same floor. The receptionist handed them their keys, smiling as though nothing unusual hung between them. Julien tried to steady himself. He couldn't. The truth Antoine had spoken kept echoing in his skull.
The real answer is that we are in love with each other.
He wished he could reject it. He wished it didn't feel like a key sliding into a lock that had been waiting years to open. Julien took a long, scalding shower, hoping it would drown out his thoughts. It didn't. When he lay down, he couldn't sleep. He heard soft footsteps in the hallway sometime after midnight. He knew without question it was Antoine. He knew because he felt it. There was a pause outside his door. A breath, a hand that didn't knock. Julien whispered into the dark,
Just come in.
but Antoine couldn't hear him. Or maybe he did. Maybe he chose not to. After a few long, painful seconds, Julien heard the soft sound of footsteps fading away. He closed his eyes and pressed his fist to his mouth to keep from calling out. The quiet between them tonight was unbearable. A silence shaped exactly like a kiss they still hadn't allowed themselves. And yet... At 2:17 a.m., Julien rose from the bed. He didn't put on shoes. He didn't think. He simply walked down the hall, drawn like a tide, helplessly, hopelessly. He stopped in front of Antoine's door, rested a hand against the wood, felt the warmth of the lamp burning inside. He knew Antoine was awake. They stood on opposite sides of the same door, neither able to cross. Julien whispered,
I can't keep doing this.
From the other side came a quiet, pained reply.
Then open the door.
Julien's breath trembled. His hand gripped the doorknob. He turned it, just an inch, then stopped. His voice broke.
I'm not ready.
Antoine exhaled shakily.
Okay then, I'll wait for you.
Julien closed his eyes. He rested his forehead against the door, the closest he had ever been to Antoine without touching him. They stood there for a very long time, close enough to hear each other breathe, close enough to feel each other's presence like a pulse, close enough to know that something between them had shifted irrevocably. When Julien finally walked back to his room, his legs felt unsteady, because he knew the truth now, clear and devastating. There would be no going back. Julien woke with the distinct sensation of having made a mistake. The morning light was thin and gray, seeping through the hotel curtains like a secret trying to escape. His mouth was dry, his heart beat uneven. For a moment he didn't remember where he was. Then he remembered everything. Standing outside Antoine's door, forehead pressed to the wood, Antoine's quiet voice.
Then open the door.
His own reply, shattering him.
I'm not ready.
He lay back against the pillow, staring at the ceiling. Readiness was irrelevant. Desire didn't ask for permission. A soft knock startled him. He sat up quickly. But it wasn't Antoine. It was housekeeping.
Bonjour. C'est l'entretien des chambres. L'hôtel est en travaux et on doit commencer, d'accord?
Oui, d'accord.
Julien exhaled, embarrassed at himself. He washed, dressed, and headed down to the lobby, praying his face didn't betray the night he'd lived, the choices he hadn't made, the ones he wanted to make too badly. Across the lobby, Antoine was already seated on a lobby couch, dark coffee in hand, flipping through emails. He looked composed, almost effortlessly so. But Julien noticed the tightness around his mouth, the faint tremor at the edge of his fingers, signs only he would notice. Their eyes met. The world narrowed. Antoine stood.
Bonjour,
he said softly, with a gentleness that made Julien's chest ache.
Bonjour.
Julien replied, avoiding the warmth in the word. They walked to the conference center together. Close enough Julien could feel the heat of Antoine's body, far enough to pretend they were only colleagues. It was a lie they both wore like a suit. The presentation work was a blur of numbers, slides, handshakes.
These numbers are the best we've ever seen. You can see here that we produce quality because the results
my
are fantastic.
God. I need coffee.
Julien's work with the quality assurance
Moi
agents
aussi.
has been excellent, and Antoine has really added a magical touch with executive leadership to ensure a cohesive experience.
Long nights.
Oh, me too. Me too. I cannot wait until this meeting is over. That man's voice always puts me to sleep.
Oui, je suis d'accord.
Julien found himself speaking in polished sentences he couldn't remember forming. Antoine took over halfway through and spoke with his usual ease, but something in his voice was tighter, rougher at the edges. Afterward, their client shook Antoine's hand. "You two work so well together," the client said. Julien nearly laughed. He wanted to say, "If only you knew." But instead he nodded politely and excused himself to the restroom.
Je m'excuse.
You're unraveling.
Don't.
Don't what?
Don't care. It makes this harder.
I can't stop caring. Tell me what you want.
Antoine whispered. Julien opened his eyes, stared at him in the mirror, and said nothing. Because the truth was too big for a hotel bathroom, too big for this life. The return train was delayed. They waited on the platform, the sky threatening rain. Antoine shoved his hands in his pockets.
You barely said 10 words during lunch.
I wasn't hungry, and I had nothing to say.
That's not it.
Julien turned sharply.
You think you know everything about me?
Antoine's voice softened.
No, I just know your silences.
Julien swallowed. That was the problem. The train finally arrived. They found seats. The car was emptier than before. Only a scattering of passengers. Julien sat by the window again. Antoine sat beside him, even though there were plenty of open seats elsewhere. The train pulled forward, humming into motion. 20 minutes passed. Julien pretended to read. Antoine pretended to sleep. Neither believed the other. What was taken, what was left. The rocking of the train lulled Julien into a kind of trance. The landscape blurred into streaks of muted color. He drifted, not into sleep, but into memory. He thought of the drawer in his office, the letters, dozens of pages of words he had never meant anyone to read, his secret confessions, his unmailed truths. His longing poured onto paper. Guilt struck him like a sudden blow. He needed to burn them, destroy them, erase the proof of everything he felt for Antoine. He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, Antoine was looking at him. With a softness so devastating, Julien had to turn away. Home. The moment they stepped off the train in Paris, Antoine's phone buzzed. Julien watched him glance at the screen, watched the way his expression dimmed almost imperceptibly. Elise. Antoine hesitated, then answered.
Hey, I'm back.
Julien tried not to listen, but the station echoed. He heard Elise's light laughter. He heard Antoine's gentle reply. He felt something inside him twist. Claire was waiting for him outside the station. She smiled, tired, warm, relieved.
Did everything go well?
She asked, leaning up to kiss his cheek.
Oh, it went productive. Well enough.
He said. Another small lie. Behind him, Antoine approached with his suitcase. Elise hugged him warmly. Antoine's hand rested on her back with a tenderness Julien wasn't prepared for. Julien looked away. He shouldn't hurt. He had no right to hurt. But he did. God, he did. The first thing Julien did when he got home was go to his office.
Oh my god, Julien, you're so stupid. Why would you write it down? You fool. Shit.
He sifted through papers, notebooks, folders, panic rising like a tide. Then he saw it. A single envelope placed neatly in the center of the desk. Not sealed, not folded deeply, just left on display, as though someone had read it and then set it aside with care. Julien's blood ran cold. This wasn't one of the old letters. This was new. The one he had written the week before. The one that began, Antoine, I don't know how to stand so close to you without falling apart. Claire had been in the office last night looking for a charger. He remembered now, her shadow in the doorway, her light footsteps. He sank into the chair, trembling. The letter was opened. Read and placed back. Not thrown away, not crumpled, not torn. Read carefully, deliberately. Julien pressed a shaking hand to his mouth as the terrible realization hit. Claire knew, and she hadn't said a word.
Oh my god, she knows. Here's an end to my marriage, then. Damn it, Julien, you fool!
Claire didn't mention the letter that evening. Not during dinner. Not while loading the dishwasher. Not while the news hummed quietly in the living room. She acted almost normal. Almost. And that almost hollowed Julien out from the inside. He kept waiting for the moment. The moment she would say, "Who is he?" The moment she would ask, "Why?" But she didn't, which was somehow worse. By 11:30, the weight of silence was unbearable. Julien stepped out onto the small balcony that overlooked the quiet street. The night was colder than expected. A stray breeze rustled the leaves of the potted rosemary plant Claire kept forgetting to water. Julien lit a cigarette. He hadn't smoked at home in years. The first drag steadied him just enough to remember how unsteady he was. Behind him, the sliding door opened. Claire stepped outside, wrapping a thin cardigan around her shoulders.
Those things will kill you, you know.
She said softly. Julien exhaled a trembling breath of smoke.
I know.
She leaned on the railing beside him, not close enough to touch, not distant enough to be indifferent. Just near. Julian's pulse climbed like a startled bird. The silence stretched. He couldn't take it anymore.
Claire,
He whispered.
I found something today.
Her eyes were fixed on the street below.
I know.
She said. He felt faint.
Why didn't you say anything?
She inhaled slowly, then exhaled through her nose.
I didn't know how.
Julian's throat tightened.
What did you read?
Claire rested both hands on the railing. Her fingers were pale in the moonlight.
I read enough, believe me.
She whispered. Julian's stomach turned.
Enough to know.
She shut her eyes.
Oh, Julien. Enough to know that your affections aren't for a woman.
Julian's breath broke. He closed his eyes. The wind pressed cold against his face, as if punishing him.
I'm sorry,
he said. Claire's shoulders trembled. Not quite a sob, not quite steady.
But why? For what exactly?
Julien stepped closer, but not too close.
for hurting you, for hiding, for not knowing how to control whatever this is.
Claire laughed softly, sharply.
Control? Oh, Julien. The way you write about him? Really?
She shook her head as if trying to clear it.
No, it wasn't something you were controlling.
Julian's chest felt too small for the ache inside it.
Claire, I swear, I never meant for you to.
I know.
She interrupted. Her voice was firm, kind, devastated. Julian's eyes stung. They stood in silence, side by side, air cold and heavy around them. The cigarette burned low between his fingers. Finally, Claire asked the question that had been hanging in the air like thunder.
Is it him?
Julien froze. No name, but she knew. And somehow life had split into two versions. One where he admitted it, one where he lied again. Julien closed his eyes. He whispered,
Yes.
Claire nodded once, very slowly, as though she had expected it, as though she had dreaded the confirmation anyway.
For how long?
She asked.
For quite a long time. Longer than I want to admit.
Claire looked up at him then, not angry, not betrayed in the conventional sense. Something gentler, more bewildered.
How did I miss it? How did I not understand?
You didn't.
Julien whispered.
I think you saw it, but you trusted me to handle it.
Her breath shook. Julien finally said the sentence he had feared most.
Claire, I love him.
Claire pressed her hand to her mouth. Not crying, just holding in something that wanted to spill out, something complicated and tender and painfully human.
And does he love you?
She asked. Julien swallowed.
Oh yes, he does.
Claire wasn't a dramatic woman. She didn't scream or throw things. She didn't accuse him of betrayal or demand impossible answers. She simply folded her arms and stared out at the empty street.
I thought you were unhappy, but I never imagined this.
Julien wanted to touch her shoulder. He didn't.
Can you forgive me?
He whispered. Claire shook her head gently.
I have no idea. I don't know yet.
Julien nodded, numb. She looked at him then, eyes shining with unshed tears.
So does this mean that you are leaving me for him?
Julian's breath stopped. He stepped back, stunned by the clarity of the question. It pierced through his ribs like a precise blade.
I don't know. Because I don't know what he wants, and I don't know what I'm capable of destroying. Dear Claire, we never meant for any of this to happen. We never meant to hurt anyone. So as much as it hurts to tell you this, my life isn't the same without Antoine. I can't pretend that it is.
Claire nodded slowly, holding herself together by what seemed like threads.
Then maybe you both should decide before this breaks all of us.
Julien felt tears sting his eyes. Her steadiness hurt more than anger ever could.
I never meant to hurt you,
he said again. Claire's voice softened.
I know. That's what makes it so difficult.
She touched his hand briefly, one last softness, then turned and went inside, closing the balcony door gently behind her. The cigarette burned to ash in Julien's hand. He didn't move. He felt the night closing in around him, thick and heavy. Somewhere across the city, he knew Antoine was awake too, feeling the same pull, the same dread, the same inevitable shift in the ground beneath them. Everything was breaking open now, and there was no going back. Julien barely slept, a few hours of fitful dozing at best, his mind replaying Claire's steady voice, her quiet composure, her final question.
So does this mean that you are leaving me for him?
By morning, the apartment felt different. Not broken, not hostile, just shifted, like furniture moved a few centimeters while you slept. Barely noticeable unless you knew every inch of the room. Claire didn't avoid him. But she didn't look at him long either. She moved through their home with careful grace, preparing breakfast, answering a few emails, pouring tea. Everything was normal. The world kept turning. That was what frightened him most. Julien stood in the kitchen doorway, unsure if he was permitted to enter his own life. Claire finally glanced at him.
Do you want coffee?
She asked. Her voice was soft, polite, devastating.
Yes, of course,
Julien managed. She poured him a cup, placed it across the table, not too close, as though proximity itself had become a question. Julien sat. Claire didn't lift her eyes as she spoke.
Julien, I don't want to make any decisions today if that's okay with you.
We need to have time for this all to be processed.
Julien swallowed.
Oh yes, of course. Whatever you want.
I'm not sure how to talk about this without hurting you. And I don't want to say things I can't take back.
Julien nodded. He admired her for it, hated himself more for it.
If you need space, I'll give you whatever you need. I know all of this is such a shock.
Claire finally met his gaze. Her eyes were clear, deeply sad but steady with understanding.
I need honesty. I think we're past space.
Julian's throat tightened. He hoped she didn't see the tremor in his hands. At the same time, across the city, Elise was not a woman given to jealousy. She was not suspicious by nature nor prone to insecurity. But in the last few months, something had begun to trouble her. Little things. Things she tried not to acknowledge. The way Antoine's gaze drifted across dinner tables, not in boredom, not in frustration, but toward a singular person, as though the rest of the world blurred around him. The way he seemed present, but not anchored, in motion, but not at home. The way his voice softened when Julien spoke, almost imperceptibly. Almost. Elise brushed her hair slowly before the mirror.
I'm beautiful, I'm accomplished, I'm friendly when I need to be, I'm a good wife. Why he is not happy, je ne sais pas.
But love wasn't the problem. Recognition was. Because yesterday, when Antoine returned from Lyon, something in him had changed. He had gone still. A quiet, dangerous stillness, like a lake right before a storm breaks the surface. And this morning, when she kissed his cheek, he had closed his eyes with a tension she had never seen before. Not reluctance, not irritation, but something like fear. Fear of what he might do, or what he had already begun doing. Elise set her brush down. She walked into the hallway where Antoine was tying his shoes.
You're leaving early. Business must be booming.
Beaucoup travail, beaucoup de problèmes. C'est la vie.
She watched him closely. He didn't look at her. She stepped forward.
Antoine? Is something wrong?
His hands froze mid-motion. For a moment he didn't breathe. Then he gave a small, practiced smile.
No, just thinking.
Elise's heart pressed painfully against her ribs.
Thinking? About what? My God, tu es très occupé.
Antoine hesitated. Just long enough. Long enough for her to know, long enough to confirm what she had sensed.
Work. That's all I think about. Work.
She wanted to believe him. She tried to, but the truth, whatever it was, hung between them like a curtain drawn suddenly across a window. He kissed her forehead. His lips were warm. His eyes were elsewhere.
Have a good day.
Julien sat at his desk at work, staring blankly at spreadsheets that looked more like abstract art than numbers. His phone lay face down beside the keyboard. No message from Antoine. He didn't expect one. He expected nothing. But he wanted everything. Around noon he closed his office door, pulled out a notebook, touched the blank page the way one might touch a bruise. He didn't write. He couldn't. The memory of Claire's voice haunted every line he tried to form.
So does this mean that you are leaving me for him?
The truth was a question without an answer. He needed to see Antoine, not to start something, not to end something, but to understand the thing holding them both hostage. He reached for his phone, but before he could call, a soft knock sounded at his office door.
Monsieur Julien, you have a visitor.
C'est qui?
The assistant opened the door fully, and standing in the hallway was Elise. Her face soft, her posture composed, but her eyes carried storms. Julien's heartbeat crashed into his ribs. He stood quickly.
Elise, wow, this is a surprise. Is everything all right?
She stepped into the office, closed the door behind her.
Julien, we need to talk.
Julien felt his stomach drop. He already knew. He could see it on her face. Elise had figured it out. Maybe not the details. Maybe not the nights outside hotel doors or the letters hidden in drawers. But enough. Enough to bring her here. Enough to end the fragile equilibrium the four of them had been clinging to. Julien opened his mouth. Closed it. He tried again.
Okay. And what do you want to talk about?
Elise held his gaze with quiet, devastating clarity.
You know why I'm here. It would be useless to pretend otherwise,
she said. Her voice didn't shake. Her hands didn't tremble.
I need to know if my husband is in love with you. Because last I checked, he was married to me, but he can't keep his eyes off of you when we had dinner. He's far away, he's gone. And when he talks about you, mon Dieu, there is no one else in the world.
Julien's world tilted. Everything inside him went very still. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't lie. And he couldn't tell the truth without breaking them all. Elise stepped closer.
S'il vous plaît, no more pretending.
Julien felt tears threaten. He blinked them back and whispered,
Sit down. We should talk.